That clap didn't come through at all, by the way.
Well, it came through for me. Welcome to Skull Hunter Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Anchor. Anchor is your all-in-one shop for which you want to start your podcast. What are you waiting for? Get started. Anchor.fm or download the Anchor app. Today, we got your host, truly, me, Jordan. And we got another guy. We got Joseph. Then we got Charles. We got the boys. What's up, everybody? How are we doing? It's a beautiful March 28th, and nothing happened last night. Nothing happened. So how you guys doing? Joseph, we're all excited. It's been a week. We didn't do the podcast. We all had better things we had to do. How's your week been?
Well, I found out how much I owe in taxes to the government, and let's just say I hate this country about, in US dollars, $6,000 more than I did before. See, with the way that I was getting paid, the pay wasn't taxed, so I would get all of it, which meant I should take some of this money, put it away into a separate account, so when tax season rolls around, I got the money there ready to go. And I estimated it based off how much I owed last year. Here's the problem. I just barely made it into the next tax bracket, which meant that the amount that I had to pay was substantially more. So that sucked. That sucks. That sucks a great deal. And I'm only saying that because consider yourselves warned. Find out what your tax bracket is and make sure that you're ready for it. I was like, okay, I got it, but it's still not exactly the happiest news to report. I just want to get that one out of my system.
Understandable, yeah.
Yeah. The whole job prospect thing, it's getting close to where I need to be. I did do some work for my first client, so technically I'm back at working.
Everyone, give a round of applause.
Yeah. Thank you. Only a couple of hours, but it's a slow ramp up, as I said before. And then I'm just waiting for a couple of those prospects to come through. One of them is very promising, and it might even, like I was mentioning, could result in making my way to Florida. Oh man, would I love to do that, especially because I just despise my country right now. I was at a friend's house yesterday. We were watching the World Cup qualifiers. It was Canada versus Jamaica. I was cheering for Jamaica.
Wow.
It wasn't a good day for them though, because they were here in Toronto playing on a soccer field, and it was freezing, and that was not an environment for them. Respectfully, they were just not used to those kinds of conditions, so they were so disjointed. Of the 4 goals that were scored on their net, they were responsible for one of them. So another sympathy for Team Jamaica. Just not a situation for them that I don't know what it was, but they weren't even they couldn't even wear like long johns. You know, they still had to have their shorts on. They had like thermals for the top, so some of it was protected. But no, I got on the bus to go to my friend's house, and I felt I deserved a reward just for getting through there in the cold. So yeah, it's been a heck of a journey. Definitely like a really unique time in my life to see, like, you know, what do I have available to me? What are my avenues, and what's really out there? One of the ones that like I think back on now, even within the context of the last like month and a half, is how excited I was for like the transcribing thing, and then how quickly that seemed to fall to back burner. Because there's that first initial spark of inspiration and excitement going, oh, this sounds great. And then there's a reality check where I realize how difficult the work actually is, how limiting it is when you think about what you're actually going to be doing, and how much of a priority it is compared to all of these other things that I'm trying to make a priority as well. So I reflected on that and thought, yeah, that was me being excited. That was stupid.
I was excited. I'm done.
Yeah. Ugh. We'll be making that mistake again.
Well, so you said you did your first job. Now, can you say what the company or who the company was with, or no? Or you would just prefer not to?
I'm gonna keep it on the DL just until like things ramp up a little bit, because we're not even talking like 3 hours in total so far. I only did a couple of hours to review some of his content, and we got to meet up this week. So it's been really exceedingly slow.
Okay.
But I look back on it, and I definitely now agree with the make sure you have something lined up before you quit camp. I now from now on will support that endeavor. But on the flip side, I've also really made peace with what it's like to be a freelancer, and this to me is the start of how things are going to ramp up for the next foreseeable future until I become a published author, which is now my main goal. Is secure a bunch of work, have my plate full, but still be on the lookout for new work. See if I can, find a way to get into a higher paying position, and then over time churn out the lower paid ones. Don't want to disrespect to anybody in particular, but time is valuable. I've only got so much of it, and I would spend the same amount of energy to be compensated for this when I can spend the same amount of energy to be compensated for a lot more. So yeah, it's been an interesting time. I've made sure I put some time into starting to work on my e-commerce store, because there are ways to sell that don't involve having to like run a website, because you can do selling through eBay, you can do selling through Amazon. So that's one of the things I put some time into. I was making my brand like sorting my brand out, making sure that it's consistent across the platforms. So putting time into that, putting time into writing, like spent a whole day just like writing a book. Loved doing that.
Nice.
I really, really had a blast doing it. And so I'm really looking forward to being in a situation where I can do that again. And then, I was at the Oscars yesterday, and this guy on stage, he made fun of my wife, and I thought it was pretty funny. That I looked over and she didn't find it funny, so I went up on stage and I assaulted him front of everybody. Oh,
Hey,
I'm sorry. I confused myself with somebody else. That was
man, I wonder who. I wonder who.
silly of me. I can't believe I let that happen.
Dude, it happens to the best of us. The willpower it will take will be it is what it is, but hey, we got to be the rock here though. We have to be the rock in the stone. Like Chris Hemsworth once said, you got to be the stone to my steel.
You want to be, Oscar Wilde, but you don't want to be Wild Oscar.
Hey, if you're a limited meme, it works. It works. We're actually diving into that a little bit here in a minute. Now, I real fast wanted to state this. So my week has been great. I actually been, in the sense of more productive than any other week this month has been. We almost made our full move over to Twitch finally. So we're able to put more hours in. We're already almost not partnered. We're halfway to partner already. We just need to fit the requirements. We're halfway to affiliate, and we're halfway to community already in just a short time period. So that's been great. I actually was able to Nobu. I worked with this company before. Well, they reached out again, and they sent my household pretty well a bunch of headphones so we can all be shot with these brand new fancy wireless headphones. It's super great. I actually got a pink one. It's on my floor in the background, but I got a pink one for Brittany. I got a green one for me, and then I got the prototype that I get to test out, and then we'll give to a fellow family member that needs them. So it was really nice of them. So I thought that was cool. They don't ask anything in return. They just want to deck me out in some swag, and I appreciate that. So that was a little cool experience. I spent $10 on a can of blow off. It's a canned air, and it's called blow off, and it was $10. I'm thinking about it though. $10, dude. $10.
You want to end up freaking suffocating and dying? Because I know what that stuff will do to you, and you'll freaking be dead before you get to the hospital.
I spent $10 on canned air. Okay, that's where I'm at. I spent $10 on a canned air, dude. It sucks.
No, it doesn't. It blows.
Shut your mouth.
Just trying to let off some hot air. I understand. Decompress.
Hey, just don't do what you did the other night. Don't come up on stage, man. Just stay back. Just stay back, man.
Well, keep I can't even do the quote. You know the crazy thing? Spoiler alert, I'm actually on Will Smith's side.
Same,
by the way.
100%, 100%. We're gonna dive way into that because there's a lot to talk about there. But we'll giving you guys a little hint of what's to come from the podcast. But we do want to let it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be Will good. But we're gonna cut it over to Charles because he has some big things to talk about for the Halo series that came out. We talked about a few episodes ago, and Charles just wants to give us that little teaser since he did not let us into his private paid for account of what was it? What was it named? Like Pixar or whatever it came out of. Yeah, he didn't give it to us. We asked, and we said no. I want to keep it for myself. Okay. Charles, tell us about the Halo. Tell about your Halo.
Well, I'll say this much: I did enjoy watching it. Everything. I figured still peeved off about the whole freaking AK and freaking and the MP5 and fucking Halo thing, but pretty much all outside of that, freaking because how certain characters were freaking portrayed in the whole thing, it didn't really bother me that much. Even though freaking one character they freaking already made me freaking hate him, even though he was one of the characters I actually like in the games. Simply just because of how they freaking have what they're doing with this character and everything. But the one thing other than the fact that this series is starting to make me freaking remember freaking the bullshit from Halo 5, which I still freaking cannot get over. One motherfucking thing that pissed me off about the whole fucking thing, the first episode, let alone, and this is a freaking huge ass spoiler, by the way, for anybody who hasn't seen it at this point, freaking, everybody knows the Master Chief never takes his freaking helmet off. These scumbag motherfuckers had him take his helmet off!
He never takes his helmet off on camera. Yeah. Because I think there was like that shot at the very end of the first Halo where you just see the back of his head for like a second.
In Halo 4, if you beat it on Legendary.
So he does it, but the player is never supposed to see the character's face because it's supposed to be the player.
What he looks like in the books, but freaking, and there was a picture they did for Christmas one time that showed the back of his head. After that, they never freaking show what Master Chief looks like, and these freaking assholes, it turns out, never even played the motherfucking games ever. For some reason, freaking had him take his helmet off in the first episode, just to freaking convince the freaking daughter of an insurrectionist leader, freaking he could be trusted, and give a wide open shot to freaking put a freaking 3-round burst in his freaking fat forehead because she was holding a battle rifle. Unless the battle rifle was fully auto like the DMR, like the one dude had.
Okay, but question no. Did we see the Master Chief's face?
Yes.
Ooh. Okay, that's this is why you don't pre-sign a season 2 for a show that hasn't even got season 1 done. I have a feeling that will actually make a lot of Halo fans pretty mad because that's like the whole thing. You don't see the face, so you don't have to worry about trying to make it the way everyone sees him. So
there was actually build up to it, but just revealing it just out of the blue, just so freaking this insurrectionist freaking girl freaking will trust him, and freaking he gave an open shot to shoot him in the face.
Some people
on top of that,
do that,
the character these freaking people ruined, freaking Captain Keyes, turned him into a freaking asshole.
And this is canon, right? This is canon.
No, I don't think it is. I think it's like an alternative narrative.
That's one of the thing that's redeemed about the series that it's non-canon. Thank God.
Okay. I'm about to say if they're doing that bad of a job, I can't imagine why Halo, the creators of Halo, would just let this happen, being like, I get it, let's do it.
You guys know who Captain Keyes is, and probably whoever watches, if you've played Halo, you know who Captain Keyes is. They had this motherfucker willingly go along with one to shoot a fucking 16-year-old. Just because she's a rebel.
Orders are orders.
And I think for some reason, when we see Cortana in this episode, she's not a freaking AI. She's a freaking human that Halsey has a freaking in a pod. In a lab!
What?
I But for some reason, Miranda Keys isn't a freaking fleet officer.
How is
Miranda was a freaking
Katana
ship commander in
Curvage?
the freaking games. She's freaking working a science lab, for fuck's sake.
I wouldn't get your hopes up.
Really?
I mean, I haven't seen it, but I'm just assuming.
Charles, tell me the curvage. Like, tell me when to stop. Is it like?
All we see is a freaking head, Jordan, and she's not even freaking. As far as I know, she's.
You know
freaking
what?
just-
For some people, the head is all you need. I guess. I don't
She's
really.
freaking bald, for that matter.
What? She's bald? You know what? Maybe cancer. I don't know.
And literally, the freaking girl freaking. When Master Chief freaking find in his Spartan team, fire team freaking find a relic, this thing is what triggers Master Chief to start having memory flashes of his life before he was taken by the UNSC to be made turned into a Spartan and everything. I'm thinking for some reason they do a whole fucking redo of fucking Halo 5's bullshit. And Chief freaking does a complete U-turn in a Pelican, freaking just flies off with a freaking interactionist girl. And when I seen this, I was like, this is literally Halo 5 all over again!
I have a question for you, Charles, but I want to wait until you've
Exhausted.
Yeah. I want to make sure you've gotten the full rant out of your system first. I take that as a yes. So I talked to my mom about like what she's watching on Netflix, and she says she watches The Witcher. And I asked her, would you be interested in playing the Witcher games? And she says, no way. She just wants to watch the show. So for her, The Witcher is not a funnel to turn fans of the TV series into fans of the game series. It's just going to be its own thing. And to its credit, I think The Witcher actually works fine as a standalone product. I think it's got enough of that like that gruesome Game of Thrones kind of fantasy vibe to it that it could just, if there was no game series, I would still think, oh yeah, no, okay, that seems like a TV show with actors and script and stuff. I would have any problem with it, and I don't. But my question to you is, what purpose do you think, even if you think it's the worst idea in the world and it's just come up by a bunch of marketing executives who are out of touch with reality, but what do you think is the role or the purpose of this Halo series, TV series?
Good question.
Make money to get
Thank you.
people to freaking subscribe to Paramount because this is an IP that people have been wanting, including especially me for the longest time. I've been freaking wanting a freaking live action movie or something like that freaking for Halo. They freaking started this shit on this thing freaking years ago with freaking completely different people. If you guys know who Neil Blomkamp, whoever it was, is. Like, Halo
that's
Landfall,
familiar.
if you look up that freaking film that they have on YouTube.
Oh God! Oh, he's one of the best sci-fi filmmakers there is. District 9, Elysium.
He's the one that made freaking Halo
Chappie.
Landfall. And that thing had a lower budget than this goddamn TV series.
Yeah, Jordan. I know movies aren't really your wheelhouse. They're like kind of a wheelhouse for me. Maybe part-time, on and off. We have a fling once in a while, but like District 9 is one of the best sci-fi movies. And I remember in our pre-recording chat, you mentioned that you prefer like documentaries.
Mm-hmm.
But what you might like about District 9 is that it uses the documentary format as a way to frame the events of the movie. So eventually the documentary stuff fizzles out to focus on the actual narrative, but it uses the documentary format to ground this story about alien visitors who are derelict and poor, and they have to like live among the slums. So amazing film. That's my recommendation for you.
Okay, District 9. I will
Literally.
definitely check it out.
It's freaking ridiculous that you could tell, if you haven't seen the first episode, you could clearly tell when the freaking CGI was being used. But it's sad when this freaking multi-million-dollar freaking series was done by Paramount, freaking has all this shit issues with it. You got this low-budget crap on YouTube looks way better.
Well, I think.
The freaking trailers they used for freaking the other games.
Well, I think the reason why it was better was because it was made by true Halo fans, and they knew what others would want. And I think that's why it ended up doing so much better in that sense, versus these guys who are probably like, we need to get people to subscribe to Panama or whatever the hell it's called.
Paramount.
Yeah, what he said. And it probably, that was their idea of being like, what could we do? Halo Infinite just came out. or in this sense, it's coming out. Let's try to get Halo involved. And then they make the series, and then they hoping that it gains subscribers. And it obviously did, because here you are, you did it. I was considering on doing it, and then I said, maybe not adding more subscriptions to my Truebill account will help.
That's what come on DVD.
There's one other point to be made as well, is that with the way the film and TV industry works, everything is on a tight deadline, because bringing in your animators, your producers, your audio guys, your touch ups, your CG, all of that is immensely expensive, because you're paying these people salaries to come in each day and do this. So they're on a time limit. So when you see, like, I remember, funny enough, because we talked about The Witcher for a second, Henry Cavill, who he had to grow a mustache for one movie. I can't remember what it was, but he had to come back and do. What was that?
Justice League. I think.
No. That's what I'm getting to. He had to grow a mustache for something else completely, which I don't think was a superhero movie at all. But the Justice League, to what you're saying, they had to do a bunch of reshoots, and so Henry Cavill, he can't. He's by contract, he can't shave the mustache. He has to keep it on. So they had to CG his face, and it turned into a meme. And they were just mocking, like, what seems to be a pretty simple task, completely botched. Now, I'm going to side with the artists. I'm sure the artists could have done it. Maybe there was too much oversight. Maybe they didn't have enough time. But typically, when you see how people can make a superior quality product for an inferior budget on YouTube, the one advantage that they have is time. No one's got a gun to their head. They can do this on their free time when they're relaxed, and they're not stressed out. They're not dealing with office politics, and they can just focus on it. They can put it out whenever they want. So that will invariably result in better quality content, even if it does take less money. And it speaks to just like the broader problem that, art is supposed to be a format, whatever form art that may take, that really should be above time and should be above deadlines, and it's usually not, and a lot of art suffers for it.
No, that's really true. Now, is there any last like rants or anything we want to go on with the Halo side? I can't really talk as much with a lot of movies because I don't sit down. I don't take time and actually watch movies often, besides like horror stuff. So if you guys have any more final thoughts on this, personally, I think all the AKs are fine. Bring them in, the Halo. We still use Lugers, like our pre-recording of the podcast is, people use whatever guns they can find. In war, it's war. You can grab a pebble and use it as a weapon.
All I know is that apparently, from what people are saying, since people have already seen the second episode that comes out later this week, that the second episode is apparently a freaking filler episode. All I know is that I just hope that the freaking after this bullshit they pulled in this first episode, that this freaking series doesn't go downhill like most other freaking series like it do, because freaking a lot of people, especially me, freaking looking forward to this, and they freaking pretty much just blew the whole load in freaking one episode for the most part.
Yeah, when you stated that Master Chief pulled off his helmet and you could see his face, it would have been so much better if they pulled it off and you couldn't see his face. If they would have just pulled it off, we already know what the back of his head looks like. Boom, just do that. Like, pull it off. You only see it from the back of his head perspective, and you can finish going out that. I feel like that would have been a better role, and that would have helped guide Halo's fans. I feel like that was a big mess
with
up.
the Mandalorian. Eventually his face is revealed in that, but it takes some time, and he does spend like the majority of it being a masked character.
Yeah. And
that's what they should have done. But they decided to blow the whole load in the first episode.
But now, as a creator though, would that mean they have something even bigger boiling in the background that might draw those people back in? Or did they completely mess up? And obviously, we'll find out next week whenever you watch the next episode, because now you're like a little news reporter. You're going to give us the little sprinkles of it. But yeah. No, go ahead.
I don't think it'll make this better if they freaking reveal the Arbiter, and it better be voiced by the same motherfucker that voiced him in the games, And if they saw Sergeant Johnson.
Sergeant Johnson would be interesting. The Arbiter, I don't feel like they're gonna get the same voice actors for.
Honestly, the dude
I don't
they
Keith
have
David?
behind his keys, I thought was going to be Sergeant Johnson.
They might be able to get him.
Yeah, maybe. So what were you gonna say, Joseph?
No, that was it. Just Keith David, voice of Arbiter.
Oh,
I think they get him. Yeah, that was it.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So yeah, so far, let us know what you guys think of the new Halo series. If you've had a chance to watch it, or if you have a buddy who watched it, ask them what they would rate it as from a 1 to 10. We would love to hear your feedback. Now,
7.
some people you'd label it a 7.
So far.
Okay, that's still pretty good. That's still pretty good that you would label it a 7 after just going on that rant. So, that's pretty good. Good
I
job.
went into it with low expectations. I'm still freaking irritated about some
Yeah.
of the stupid ass shit that they did with it, but freaking I'm still hopeful.
Now, I will say this though. Like, the one thing that I did catch from the trailer and everyone else have memed it about was the Silverado sitting in the side, the Suburban just sitting there dusted up but still looks brand new. Like, that's something I stopped to actually think about. I'm going, I kind of understand why they're upset. Like, you would expect if there's a cars there, it would be broken down, modded up or something like that. It's just an old 1990 Suburban just chilling, and you're like, you really? So I actually took time and went, I understand why people were mad about this. I kind of get it now. So we teased it enough though. So last night was Oscars. A lot of good things happened that night. There was a lot of slapping around going around. So yeah, obviously we spoiled everything. If you haven't seen the Oscars, you are off social media, and why are you listening to this? But the Oscar, Will Smith might have slapped Chris Rock, and some people say it's fake, some people say it's real. So let's go through that real quick. Do you think it was real? Do you think it was fake? I guess let's do that, because it's the Oscars.
I'm gonna go with real because
Okay.
I am constantly skeptical about what's real and what's fake, and I'm pretty well into many conspiracy theory. So I'm taking a break on this one. I'm like, okay, no, this straight up happened. I don't care to try to disassemble this one. If they prove it, okay, fair enough. But no, as far as I'm concerned, it was a real deal.
Okay, Charles, real or fake?
Oh, this isn't fucking WWE, so unless it's fake, these guys freaking had the whole thing planned out. Freaking, I'm pretty sure Will Smith bitch slapped freaking Chris Rock.
Okay, now I'll say this: I thought it was fake at first, and hear me out. This is why I thought it was fake. Throughout, I went back to listen to the whole entire whenever Chris Rock got on stage. Couldn't hear anyone in the audience. Couldn't hear anyone. The minute he mentions a joke to Will Smith about his wife, you all of a sudden can hear him laughing. All of a sudden, you hear his laughter, crystal clear. You hear ha 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 ha, and I'm like, sus, a little sus. We'll call in the emergency meeting. Charles appeared on my screen. It was terrifying. But called the emergency meeting. I'm like, hey, there's some sus things going on. And then he's laughing at it, having a good time. And then he gets up on stage. No one stops this man. No one stops him. The cameras are freaking out going, ah! So it's just like everything was like staged in perfect air shots and stuff. Maybe they don't move, it's our day and age, they're lazy. And then just gets on stage, slaps him, walks away. Now,
Pretty sure. Sorry.
no, you're gone. Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just gonna say, I remember seeing something where like a black thing covered, appeared on screen right when Will Smith slapped him, and it only disappeared as he walked away.
Yeah, there was no black screen in all the clips I've seen of it. It was just a solid. You see him from the back, and it's just boom. It was just a boom slap. But that was one of the big reasons I thought it was fake at first. Was the laughter why is it you can only hear his laughter? That
I
only one
think I know
time.
what might have happened with that one. So I think that might be as they're live editing and they're going from camera to camera, they might switch the camera over to where Will is, but they might not have switched the audio because the audio would typically be on the presenter.
Mhm.
So they might have switched the camera and switched the audio, knowing that he's gonna do a Jada Pinkett. Jada, love you. So they switch. Okay, he's talking to them now. Let's switch over to them. Maybe we can get their laughter on camera. Maybe they were close enough to it. So that is a bit of a stretch in my opinion. Like I think I'm stretching with that explanation.
Yeah.
But I do think it is plausible.
See, but that's why I was like, is this fake? And I was like, if it is, it was a great. They did a great job with it because.
But the Oscars have been losing ratings year after year.
This is what started my conspiracy theory. I'm like, they've been low on ratings constantly. No one sits down going, let's watch the Oscars tonight. I can tell you this year, next year, there's gonna be a lot of people watching the Oscars.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
I'm gonna
Also,
watch it.
quick shout out to my fellow conspiracy theory people. Many of whom are like, this is just a distraction from something that's going on in other parts of the world. There's war, and then there's also a certain thing going on with a certain laptop by a certain son of a certain former vice president. So there's some very like important things going on in the news, and everybody and their mothers are talking about this, and we're freaking talking about it too.
Yeah.
So I at least want to like take a moment to go. There's more important things, but we're all fixating on this because that's who we are. We like to focus on these things and not those things. I myself, I focus on both, and actually, I find this more like a respite, like a chance to like, well, I can just talk about something, mainline for a little bit before I go back into my rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So just wanted to acknowledge my people, but back on subject.
That didn't go too far off subject. We're still conspiracy theories a little bit. So when that's where I thought it was fake. Now where I thought it was true, and when I actually started believing that, okay, maybe it's true now, is the speech when Will won the Oscar. I would say spoiler alert, but you can't go anywhere without seeing it because they keep making comments. All the headlines are going, will he be invited back? Like, even he said it on stage, if I'm invited back. So you're apparently not allowed to swear at the Oscar. I did not know that. You're not supposed to say certain words at the Oscar. And when he said, as I quote, keep my wife motherfucking name out your mouth. When he said that, it went, ooh, you can't say that. You can't say that. So that's where it was like, okay, but for one, round of applause for Chris Rock. I mean, he sat there and did not act immature about it. He knew he fucked up. He made a joke he shouldn't have made. He didn't immediately start trying to throw hands with Will. I wouldn't. I've seen his workout videos, but he didn't immediately try to throw hands. He didn't immediately try to sit there and like get up in his face or nothing like that. He stayed calm. Shocked, but calm. It was like, I just got bitch slapped by him. And then even when Will called him out for it, all he said was it was a joke. He said, keep the name out of mouth. And then he said, I will. It's like, oh, like he was in that sense more responsible than Will was at that moment where Will got up on stage. Now, if it was defending his wife, I'm on Will's side, 100% on Will's side. I'm just giving credit where credit's due. I don't know if I would just stood there being like, Will Smith just slapped me in the face. I would have probably been like, bro, you want to go? We'll take off the shirts. Like, let's move. But the fact he didn't.
Freaking made the Oscars freaking interesting to watch at that point because we would have had a fight going on.
Dude, I would have watched it. If someone would have said we can't show this footage, I would pay top dollar for it. When I say top dollar, I mean like, what is it, $12 for a monthly subscription or something? I'll just pay $12 for it. maybe $15 if they're lucky. But it was an interesting night, and now you can't go on social media without seeing something about it. My sister sending me memes about it. My brothers keeps messaging me stuff with it. It's crazy.
Jen sent me a bunch of Italian themed ones. There's a very popular Italian song like "When the moon hits your eye like
Like
a
a
big
velvet
pizza pie,
pie,
it's
that's
amore." So
Apparently, I think Will Smith
if
might lose his
I
Oscar.
remember, sorry, hold on a second, Charles. Let me just say that. So there's a meme where the hand is the pizza pie, Will Smith is the moon, and then Chris Rock is the eye. And it took me a second to figure that one out.
I like it. I like
Yeah.
it. Now go ahead, Charles. What were you gonna say?
I think freaking Will Smith might lose his Oscar for this.
I don't think he will, and this is why I don't think he will. He gave that show more ratings than it ever had. I guarantee it. I 100% like people. We don't talk about like a lot of stuff that happens in that kind of area, and we're talking about it. Like
Yep.
we bring it up. There's a guy who just on TikTok who just goes after like troll accounts on TikTok and being like, "We're gonna get you off TikTok" and everything else. He posted a clip of it going, "What the fuck did I just watch?" And it's just showing the clip. And I'm like, even you did it. Like, and this, I guarantee you he's not going to lose it. I don't think you can officially lose an Oscar. Wait, no, I think someone did lose an Oscar. I'm gonna unquote myself there. But I don't think he's gonna lose it though. I think because of the rating he
if Kevin Spacey ever got an Oscar, I wonder what the status of that would be. It's just like there are many people who are assaulters in Hollywood. So there's a lot of things that a lot of people got away with, and Me Too cleared out some, but not all of them. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what?
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're just
wanna
gonna
move to
ask
one
me
of
like
you
you're just
guys.
gonna be like, all right. So what do you guys think? Is that what you're gonna say?
Yeah.
I was gonna say. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so when you mentioned that, Chris Rock, he just he took it, he stood his ground, and he just tried to carry on. That is a sign. Like Chris Rock is one of the most legendary living comedians, and he will probably be one of the most legendary comedians when he passes. And comedians have to deal with some pretty harrowing circumstances, especially when they're coming up. So they're made of strong stuff. And so that's probably like not even the worst assault he's endured on stage. So that kind of composure is something that you only get from years, decades worth of tangible experience. Because one thing about comedians too, stand-up comics especially, and there is that distinction, is that you get to do your material, you build up like an hour, you get to do a special. What you have to do next, you're starting from scratch.
Yep.
Basically, you got to generate all new material and work on a whole new routine. And it is easier in that they can now show up to pretty much any club they want. Be like, oh my God, Chris Rock, you're here. And Chris Rock's like, okay, is it cool if you squeeze me on? And it's like, yeah, of course, hey, everybody. Pushes the guy currently on stage. Get the fuck out of here. It's Chris Rock. I mean, I made that up, but I wouldn't be surprised if that happened numerous times.
Guaranteed.
And so, they have more momentum going into their next work, but they still have to continue generating new material. So they get to deal with a lot of that like early level frustration every time they want to put out a new album. So it's a hard job, but it really does make for some of the most composed performers out there. So credit to the comedy community and for Chris Rock for really being a beacon for like the professional joke tellers of the world. That's the first thing I want to say. Second thing I want to say is about Will Smith. So as far as like physical assault goes, one can never condone that kind of behavior.
No,
we just can't. I myself had an altercation with a family member a few years ago, and as a result, I was excommunicated voluntarily for like 2.5 years before we were able to start rebuilding bridges. And it was just one slap, but it cost me a lot of years with my family and a lot of grief. It really goes a long way. So it's just not an acceptable part of society.
Yeah.
As a counterpoint to that, people think, well, we know words don't hurt. They do. Oh, words aren't physical. They are. Words and speaking are sonic sound waves that we project from our mouths that send encoded messages to other people that can cause harm. Yep. And many people are rather sensitive, and are going to be harmed even if the intention wasn't there. But intentions are have very little bearing on results, and so people can be harmed by words, and words are a physical thing. It's not this woo-woo magic part of the world that that could just be brushed off. It does totally have an effect. So I understand the cause and effect of it. The number one thing that I admire Will Smith for is his outburst afterwards, the way he shouted at him, because I can't stand veneer. Especially when you come, like, it doesn't get any worse than award shows. Everybody puts on their best looks and wear their most expensive smiles, and everybody pretends like everybody is okay, and everything is happening, and it's all, and like, I remember one year, during the Trump administration, they're like, we live in fascist times. I'm like, no, you don't. You wouldn't be able to say that on national TV, and it's so fake. And I love that moment where reality actually sets in for a few seconds, and you really see a person humanized in that moment. I admire that. I love that kind of bravery. Some people will call it toxic. Some people will call it insecure. Call it whatever the hell you want. That to me is a moment of actual humanity.
I definitely agree with that. Because for one, Will Smith goes on when he's accepting awards. He kind of goes into exactly what you just stated, maybe in shorter words because he's on stage. He's trying to hurry up and get off. But he kind of goes through that exact same spiel when he accepts his award. But it's just, especially like the whole idea of like, you gotta have that backbone to you, but you also can't let that take you and make you have decisions. And the fact that Will Smith did like stand up, get on stage, do that, he could have just decked the man. And I'm not saying he should have. I'm not saying whatever. I love Chris Rock and I love Will Smith. They're both amazing people. And I would still love to meet him no matter what, even if I have to get punched by Will Smith. Hint, hint. So if that's what it takes, never. I need to make sure it's stated. I won't cause me to say anything about his wife. I want to make sure that is 100% stated. Make sure there's not a meme made out of this in the future. But no, it's, he stood up for her, and apparently she is going through some medical stuff, and that's why it was a little sensitive. Plus, the night was sensitive and everything else. But physical harm to another person, is obviously, really frowned upon. You shouldn't do that.
Sorry, real quick. It's alopecia.
Alopecia.
Yeah, I think it was either Pisia or Pisha. Probably Pisha. Alopecia. That's what. It's the hair loss condition. For some people, it's just like patches. Like you'll lose like clusters of hair, and so in those cases, people will often just shave the whole thing off because at that point, shaving off is, I mean, it's not a better look, but at least it's consistent.
If people have wondered what the joke was, it had to freaking deal with like G.I. Jane.
Yep, and that was not a right joke for Chris to make, but he made it. But that once again goes to show you, doesn't matter how much money you got, doesn't matter how famous you are, you can still fuck up. And Will Smith, in the moment, should he handled it better? Maybe, but he wasn't doing it for him. He was doing it for her, and that's where I give a lot more leadway to. I don't think this will affect his future in showbiz, but I do feel like it will affect like how some people see him, especially not knowing the full details, just people seeing the meme showing that he's just smacking Chris Rock across the face. He's smacking the zebra from Madagascar. I don't want that to sit there and start being a thing, and that's what people see him as, is the man who killed Marty. So I want to make sure that, like, I don't know. I applaud Will from doing it, but then I'm also like, he shouldn't have done it. And then the same thing goes to Chris. Like, he kept his cool. He kept his level head. He knew he fucked up, especially once Will raised his tone. He knew he fucked up. He didn't apologize. I don't remember hearing an apology. If he did, you can argue with me in the comments. I don't remember hearing an apology at that moment in time, but still, he realized he fucked up. He kept everything else to himself. We'll probably hear more about this next week, because if I see even one news clip about Will Smith talks about what he said, or Chris Rock responds to Will Smith doing it, I'm gonna be all over it 100%. Like, I'll be all over it like Russia's on Ukraine. Yeah, politics. Charles, your opinions on the situation? Oh, not the Ukraine stuff. Will Smith and Chris Rock.
Honestly, the way I see it is that Will Smith was just defending his wife, regardless of whatever the relationship situation is. Even if
it's a situation, all right.
If it was me, freaking, if this dude, freaking, I don't care who he is, he's freaking saying shit I don't freaking appreciate him saying about the one I'm married to, who I'm in love with. I freaking want to just be slapping him. I'd be freaking beating the ever living shit freaking out of him, freaking, even if it's live on live TV and on stage in front of people. I'd be freaking kicking the motherfucker's fucking ass.
Probably not something you want to say publicly. I get it.
Principally, I have to support you.
We're all friends here. We're all friends. We're not gonna talk no shit. We're just all gonna be friends here, and just you're a god, Charles. You're a god, daddy, God. Sorry, what, daddy? But no, I definitely get where you're coming from. I do the same thing with Brit. You know, I bet everyone will do the same thing to the people they love. Obviously, you just want to protect them. And you know, it is what it is. Now I will once again reiterate that we don't condone violence. You know, there's other ways to handle it. But
I see that dickwad who gave us that bad review.
And then he's going down. But you know, when it's all said and done, though, you know, it got the Oscars a lot of views, and it got that specific part a lot of views. When the main page on YouTube, I'm pretty certain the main page on YouTube had that clip posted so quick. Like, next year they're gonna sell out. They're gonna 100% sell out. I guarantee it.
What was that about continuing violence?
Airsoft.
I swear that's his drinking game. Whenever Charles pulls out a gun, I hope so. Hope that's an airsoft.
Oh my god, that's the most coy look on Charles's face that I've seen yet.
It's like, yeah.
I must be wrong. It's obviously a super soaker. You like being soaked in your own fluids.
That is a way. Well, speaking of fluids, so we have another thing that happened this week. Borderlands came out. Has nothing to do with. You know what? Let's make it about fluids. So Borderlands came out and had a bunch of 18-year-olds juicing in their pants about it. And see, fluids. There we go. Let's get it. I thought of that last second. Actually, I had the joke boiling for a minute. Boiling because I'm still using fluids, and yeah, I got it.
I didn't want to interrupt your flow.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, juices are going. Never.
No.
It's like, why would we do that? It's a podcast. Who cares?
I want to live.
We want to live, not be controlled. Russia. But Borderlands released on like Wednesday. Now I'm a Borderlands fan. I really became a fan after Borderlands 3. Charles has been a true Borderlands fan since it came out. Joseph, are you a Borderlands fan?
No, I played it. I just wasn't playing it under the right circumstances. But I was mentioning this to Charles before we recorded. But like, I'm not a fan of games where you shoot something a lot and it doesn't die. Like, you just hit something with bullets and numbers come up. For me, there's a big disconnect there. And if you remember what I said in previous episodes about, like, you know, what kind of experience do I want to give my subconscious, we have a difficult time reconciling hitting things with bullets only for them to not die. So, and then the looting side of it, many people think that I'm like a big fan of looting because I was a really big fan of Diablo 2. But for me, the looting was like my least favorite part of Diablo 2. For me, I love that game because once you have a full party of 8 players, it turns into like a real-time strategy where you have so many of your own characters slash units on screen, and there's a lot of chaos going on. And so this the moment-to-moment gameplay was what made that thing so much fun, not the looting. So
Okay.
there's the art style is a huge up though. The art style is fantastic. And again, I think for me, it's just a matter of like I need to play it in the right circumstances and the right environment to see it at its best, and I don't feel like I've had that opportunity yet. So
I
yeah,
get that. A lot of people were the same way about Borderlands 3. They thought it wasn't as fun, especially playing like by yourself, or like a late night game you get home from work and play. A lot of people didn't really see it like that. Charles is actually not a fan of playing it really solo. But this one apparently got a lot of people like switched around. They really like this solo or with friends. So for me and Charles being both Borderlands fans, we ended up playing it on Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. We ended up playing it Sunday night for about 6 hours, and so we can dip our toes into it a little bit. I want to hear from Charles real quick. I want to know your opinions on the game. Would you recommend it, and at what star rating would you give it from a 1 to 5?
I think the game has been pretty fun so far from what I've played on both characters. I only just got to the part where ran into Mr. Torre because of course they were going to have him in the game, and we're only like, and our characters that you, me, and Richard are playing are only like level 14 or 15, I forget. We're only like only like a part way through the game, but it's pretty much been really fun so far and everything. And I would recommend it if people like Borderlands and everything. Because this game's been the most fun I've had playing a Borderlands game in a while. And I liked the Borderlands 3 a lot, and pre-sequel was alright. I just didn't really like playing that game all that much. And Borderlands 2 is still is still like the best one, but this one's a pretty good competition in that one. And I would give this one, as far as like a star rating, depending on if it's like out of 5 or out of 10, I'd give it like a 4 out of 5 personally.
Okay, that's pretty good. So I obviously lots of fun. Actually, fun fact. Since my tooth woke me up at 4 a.m., I was playing Borderlands at 4 a.m. I hopped on made my own personal character to run through the game, and it was one of those games I truly just sat down with for a little bit, played it out until we hit to the same part where we stopped last night. I played a new character, played up to that point because I don't want to know what's further without the team build. So I have my own little guy, and then I have like our guys, and so I'm just going through that. But definitely,
dice that we found.
oh, I found, dude. I'm literally every area I've been to, I maxed out all the dice. I have all the dice in every area I unlocked, 100%. It's been amazing. No legendaries though on my playthrough, not even one yet.
I was just about to ask.
No, my loot's high, but not a single legendary yet. So I'm disappointed. A little bit disappointed in Borderlands right now.
If you can get the legendary drop rate in this one, unlike where Borderlands 3, every time you turn around, just about you figure be getting one to drop almost always.
Yeah, but that was still fun. Now, like the looting side of that one was a little bit more entertaining because you got a big storage thing to store your legendaries in. It made you actually want to collect it, knowing that it was still hard to get, it was still random to get, and that you could still like kind of collect them as you play through the game. This one, I don't know if we can go through and collect them. I think you get them and you use them. Like you literally don't have much of a choice other than that. But I will say definitely fun. Highly recommend people to play it. Will I say like everyone should? No. If you haven't played, if you're not a fan of D&D, let's go with that because they do a lot of D&D stats. So you actually get a character sheet. You get to show like if you want to be a melee fighter and things like that, or a spellcaster thing. There's just like so much detail you can put into it, even designing your character. I made mine look like Thor from the Marvel series. Richard made his look like a red version of Thanos, or a Hellboy knockoff that didn't make the cut. What, Charles?
Mine was an OC.
Yeah, yours was an OC. We picked on Charles because he didn't get a legendary till literally the end of it. Me and Richard got
God, I
two
know I got a
total.
motherfucking gun. Suck it.
But we have more legendaries than you right now, so I hate to be that guy, and I was the first one to get one. So I'm boiling some waters here, but a scale to 1 out of 5 though, I honestly give it a 3. And the reason I'm giving it a 3 right now is just because we haven't played much further through it to really get a lot of details. But if you're not a fan of Borderlands, I don't know if you would actually enjoy it. Like, and that's the hard part I was thinking about. I was like, if you haven't played a Borderlands game in your life, every game that gets released, you should expect an audience that never played a Borderlands game and see how they respond to it. I don't think they would. I think unless they're a big D&D fan that wanted that little oomph. But even then, I don't know if they would actually do it. So for that side of it, I'm giving it a 3 out of 5 because I feel like there is something there that more people would probably lean towards playing it versus they're seeing going, nah.
I would want to go one step further and say not only should you not assume that the player hasn't played any Borderlands, you should not assume that the player has ever played a video game in their entire lives.
Yeah, that's true.
You actually have to make that assumption, and you will see when game designers respect that. Like, Master Chief, we need you. It's kind of a tough situation. Oh, okay. Well, where do I go? Yeah, before you do that, we just need to calibrate your visor. Can you just look up?
Can you do a task command real quick?
All right, left. Okay, right. Okay, here's your gun.
Attacked by alien forces, and you guys are having me do this.
Yeah,
hey,
so
it works.
I'm sure that there's plenty of examples where designers don't do it, or deliberately want to obfuscate it for everybody, regardless. Like with the Souls series, I respect them for that. Let me tell you, there's a game series that I'm pretty sure everybody who plays that game has at least played one other video game first.
Oh yeah,
pretty sure. But it is still a reasonable expectation to try to ease the player into it, even if they have never picked up a controller before in their life. It's not really practical because for the most part, I'm sure players move from one game to the next, but it can happen. Yeah. And you want to be prepared for that because oftentimes a player will bond with their early experiences and will become long-term fans from that because not only do they learn how to play that game in particular, but they learn how to play games in particular. And that discovery is associated with that property. So trying to bring in new players from wherever the hell they may be is part of a business strategy for the long term.
Yeah, this is why I really stated a little bit on I don't think they nailed that right, was because if you haven't played a Borderlands game, you're going from you're literally buying a game that's set in a comic book kind of graphics that not a lot of people are fans of, and then you get a shooter game out of it, and you get a D&D style game out of it, and then you get a storyline that might not make sense at all to you. It's just you literally spawn and you're playing D&D. There's nothing else like it really does for you. So I feel like they didn't do a good job in your perspective of a guy who doesn't even play video games. Like a guy that doesn't play video games, I don't feel like they would want to play. There's just so much there to try to walk you into. And then if you are a fan of Borderlands, I feel like you would attach to this so quick. But it's just there's so much to unravel. Call of Duty is simple. It's a military game. You're trying to save the day. You get missions. You get it done. That seems relatively simple. You got Destiny. You're an alien of some sort. You're there to get a mission done, shoot things, beat the game. It's relatively simple. Borderlands, you play through a story. You're making your characters, do your side missions, do your main objective. And I guess that could be the same thing, but it's not though, because there's parkour, so you can collect all the collectibles through the game, so you can get better loot things. And if you're a guy who haven't played a video game, I don't think you would like, especially this Borderlands. A Borderlands I would recommend would be Borderlands 2 or 3. You don't have to play a Borderlands game to really enjoy that. But this one, I feel like you really have to be a fan of Borderlands to want to play it. And I feel like they did not do that well for their marketing idea. And a lot of the stuff they bring up, you don't get it. But there is some good Easter eggs. I found a SpongeBob Easter egg that I love.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, there's a, you know that skeleton guy? The skeleton guy in SpongeBob with the, like, juice soda hat on his head?
Yeah.
He's in the cemetery.
Oh yeah, I was wondering what I seen that guy too, and on my first character, and I was like,
Yep.
I swear this guy's a reference or something that'll come up in a mission later.
Yep, it's a SpongeBob reference. I thought that was kind of funny. That's one of the first Easter eggs I found so far that's outside of Borderlands. And that's another thing too, is when Easter eggs go outside of Borderlands, like Borderlands 2, Borderlands 3, they had Minecraft Easter eggs, they had Halo Easter eggs, they had all these different Easter eggs for other games. So if you played other games, you played it, or you might search up Easter eggs of Halo, and you might see on a list, Borderlands is in there. That game actually looks kind of, let me play it. And that might get you into it. So far, I don't see that. I don't see that.
No, a couple of lines of text actually references the Dragon's Keep DLC in Wonderlands.
And see, that's great, except that you haven't played a Borderlands. And that's kind of where I'm like really at with their idea for Tiny Tina's Wonderland. Is I don't feel like they grasp a brand new player that hasn't played Borderlands. And they definitely didn't grasp a brand new gamer. And kids are turning 18 all day long. I didn't realize Borderlands was an 18 and up game. Had no idea until a kid popped in my stream today. and was like, see, you were playing Borderlands. My dad said, no, I couldn't watch. I'm only 17. I went, oh, why are you on here? If you're not allowed to play Borderlands, I don't think you're allowed to watch me. But okay, cool. I'll take the viewer.
That's why all the Borderlands games have always been rated M. They're supposed to be for like people at least 18 years old.
But they don't show titties, man. If you don't show titties, don't make it mature. I just
Have you
want
seen freaking
That's the
Moxley?
point.
not in this one, no. I haven't. Moxie's not in this one. Her titties aren't flopping around. Neither is Ellie. So you know what? It's not there. It's not there.
That we know of.
Yeah, as we know of right now. As we know right now. But
Like I don't know if they have freaking slot machines in the game, and I'm hoping that they don't.
I hope they do, boy. I really hope they do. But to finish up our Borderlands topic, I just looked at the time and got shocked. So to wrap up our Borderlands topic, if you're a Borderlands fan, make sure to give it at least maybe a watch. Watch one of those YouTube videos like before you buy. They will probably go through it really well and tell you like what to expect from it. I really enjoy those guys. Those guys who do like before you buy, watch this. They do a good job at telling you if this is a game you want to see while showing you parts of the game that aren't spoilers. And if there are one, they'll be like, skip over here so you don't see it or we don't tell you it. Yeah, I highly recommend that. Our next, Charles, do you have anything before I go blast on to the next one? Do you have any last thoughts about Borderlands?
All I know is that I just hope that they fix the issues that's freaking caused the game to freaking crash and lag at times.
Oh God, yeah. Let's talk about that for a second. So the game So this is where I attack the makers of Borderlands. Sorry, 2K. The game crashes on consoles.
I'm gonna run to the washroom, but
Yeah.
You don't
That
need me for
works.
this part.
So
I just thought it was just funny when we were fighting that one guy. If we go to attack him, next thing you know, he doesn't attack, and the game just freaking freezes like the freaking when there's an explosion on the screen. It's like, what the?
Yep. So when the game crashed because of that. The game breaks a lot. It freezes up. Has nothing to do with an internet connection. So you have those problems. The audio is not accurate at all. I had my headphones up to max. I've had my TV up to max. It is so quiet. It was not even. It was like I was playing with no sound on besides the explosions happening. That was the only thing you could hear clear as day. And went through all the audio settings. There's nothing you could do on PC. It is different. You can really adjust your volumes and stuff, especially through your party chat and your game audio. You can adjust that better. But
No dedicated drops, which is something that people complain about in Borderlands. It took forever for them to fix for some reason. Yet now we're gonna have to go through that all over again. And freaking loot, for that matter, is freaking gimped to all hell. Just relying on that loot number. Freaking that thing was glitching out on us too. Or at least on
the
my
loot
end,
number was glitching out. Your money count glitches out a lot. I noticed that. So I went back on the stream to get get that one clip of me shooting a guy out of bounds, and I went to go get that clip. And as I'm getting that clip, I realized like as we're in like that overworld, I went to a money thing and it showed only had 1,000 gold coins. I went, that's weird. I thought I had over 50,000 at this point. Yeah, once we loaded back in, I had 50,000. So there's a lot of glitches to the game. I feel like they're gonna have to fix, hopefully sooner than later. It's still playable, but it's one of those games where since they didn't have a proper beta, we're seeing outcomes of
And
it.
if you're playing with friends, be prepared for shit to break left and right.
100%. Yeah. With brand new
Especially in
Xbox
combat.
consoles to older Xbox consoles, be prepared for the game to just crash. So there's kind of the last topic. There's the good, there's the bad of Borderlands. Joseph, I'm going to let you take it away on, as one may say, on why the game stores are shutting down.
So I have two separate articles here. This one is, this one's a little bit older, but it was a source I was referenced in a video called "I'm Now Pro Piracy Thanks Nintendo" by Review Tech USA,
was about to say.
more commonly known as "Give 'em bottom." And the article that kicked this off. So one of them was like Sony's PS3, PSP, and Vita digital stores reportedly closing for good this summer, and that got a lot of backlash. And I believe they replaced that. But the main article here is Nintendo closing 3DS and Wii U shops in 2023 has no plans to offer classic content in other ways, which led to the "I'm Now Pro Piracy Thanks Nintendo" video, which, once you actually watch the video, it's not actually like all piracy, it's just retro piracy. So what is retro piracy? It's if a game is no longer accessible via the marketplace, it I don't know what kind of ware it becomes, something like vaporware, I don't know, but it is it could be disappeared forever. It could be excommunicated. Yep. And so by the effort of fans who are passionate about these games, they find ways to preserve these games for the future. Now, I totally support this. I know like sailing the high seas has always been a touchy subject, but this is one area where I have no problem with what they're doing, which is getting ROMs and being able to emulate games that are not for sale anymore. Now, what would be the counter argument for this? It's not a very good one, but it exists, which is these companies want to cultivate a gameplay experience that they want their players to have. And therefore, if players are going to spend time playing games, then the designers and the publishers want them to play these games and not these games. They want them to spend money here, spend their time here, and not on these things. So you can imagine if people are still fixated on Wii U games and 3DS games, they're not going to have very much, maybe they might not have as much game time to spend money on the things that are currently coming out. So again, I don't think it's a strong argument, but that's it.
Yeah.
And then the main issue, and this ties into a much bigger problem, which is the slow decline of games ownership, where throughout the varying console life cycles, we're less and less spending money on games that we can own with a certain level of pride. And we seem to be spending money more on these limited experiences that may or may not happen to come in a package with a CD. It's the difference between, say, like, going to a playground and being allowed to bring our own things to play with, and not having our own things to play with, and going to the playground and playing whatever it is they give us and expecting to enjoy it. Not being allowed to bring our own baseball gloves, our own bats, our own whatever. Just being forced to use whatever tools they want, or just not have any fun at all. So there's a lot going on there. But one standard that I've always set when it came to games ownership is, do I have the same pride for owning this game that I do for owning Settlers of Catan? Right? Y'all come over, let's say we want to play Settlers of Catan. The box is there, all the pieces are there, the instructions are there. We can play the game. Maybe I can get the expansions for it, but I don't really care, right? It's a complete closed, contained experience, and that's what games should be.
Yep.
And we continue to move into this dystopian environment where we're paying for games that aren't even done for a limited time, and then we're going to lose access to it.
Yep.
Or at least pieces of it, right? Like I bought Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, and I only it's lucky for me, I only paid a quarter of the price because I only got a quarter of the game.
Yeah. No, I feel like, especially when it comes down to a lot of places where, especially when you would go with like what how do you use the piracy words?
Sailing the high seas.
No. Like the actual pirating side.
Retro piracy.
Retro piracy.
Yeah.
So this is something that I kind of go back and forth on, because let's be honest, if you play Xbox, you don't own half your games. Let's just all be honest about that. If you have an Xbox, you don't own half your games anymore. You have Game Pass. You don't own that. You download these games. You don't own any of it. And so that's where I keep going back to, is like, because I know a lot of people would be like, piracy is wrong, and especially for doing this. But if they don't sell a copy of a game anymore, and you have these people not scalping anyone, but you have these people that want to give everyone else the experience they got given, and like you were saying, sitting down with like the board and the game and all that, you have the full experience there, and you want to help share that as best as possible. I don't feel like why that's a big deal. I don't feel like why that's illegal. I feel like you're just trying to share the game. And I might be a little bit off subject there. You're saying a lot of big words. My 5
I have
IQ
a
can't
good
catch up.
response to that. This is another point in support or in defense of publishers. There's a YouTuber, pretty popular. Most people know him, especially if you're a gamer, called Video Game Donkey.
Okay.
Known for surprising people when people find out what color his skin are. But other than that, what color his skin is. Other than that, he made a video about pricing in games, and that if you look at how expensive games were in previous generations, or even like in television, it would cost you like $128 of today to buy those games at the time.
Yeah.
And so then, but we hit like the $60 price point, and the $60 price point was consistent for a number of generations, and very few games these days will come out and be like a full on like $89, $99, $90. And yet the cost to produce the games continues to increase, because you have to hire more people, get voice act, you got to get Jack Black, you got to get your sound effects, you got play testing, and they're forced to make all of these all these decisions, and that's what you end up with. Annualized products, you end up with games that are half tested, a quarter finished.
Yep. And
there is a serious problem with that, and I think a lot of this is just like the whole AAA model probably held the game industry back for a good long while, rather than like I would imagine like subscribing to Call of Duty at the beginning of like the PS4 generation, and you'll get your campaigns and you'll get your multiplayer mode. Well, I mean, you bought Call of Duty like 4 times, like 4 or 6 times per console life cycle. Instead, you just have your subscription. You'll just get the campaigns when they're out. You'll get the zombie maps when they're out, and there might be a little bit more cohesion between the two. I don't know. Maybe it's not that much better, but like there probably are better models even for AAA developers than what we have right now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess especially when you move over to, I'll hurry up with this, Charles. When you're moving over to like something like a Call of Duty game where it comes out every freaking year, I get that. That actually would make a lot of sense. But then I feel like there's a lot more opportunity for crashing, failure, and trying to respond to the fans while ignoring the fans, so you can continue to release stuff you're scheduled for. And then it continues to not stop. Like
people are going to be clamoring for changes and patches.
And then it's just all going to get overwhelmed versus make one game, do crappy testing with it, send it out, and then fix it 2 months in. Charles, what were you going to say?
My whole thing is with the whole freaking piracy crap or whatever's I think Nintendo, the whole thing about Nintendo going after people who are just trying to preserve some of these older games. Shit like these freaking two games right here, I've been freaking asking Nintendo to bring to the Switch for freaking forever. Well, this game can fuck off, but freaking this game especially, I wish they'd freaking bring to the Switch already.
Now, could you explain to the audio listeners?
It's my Game Boy freaking reproduction copy of Pokemon Emerald I got off of Etsy. This thing works perfectly fine. You wouldn't even know if it's a reproduction without me saying freaking so. And it's the same thing with this one.
I wouldn't have thought that, yeah.
I honestly, so for the audio listeners, it's in the actual colored casings for it. They're, I'm guessing Emerald and Sapphire. Am I right?
Fire Red.
Fire Red. Okay. They're in the actual like colored, and the label they have on it looks identical to what I used to have growing up. It is actually insane.
It's legit, literally the freaking label like it would be.
So it's literally the label. Yeah, you could have said brand new, right out the box or case, $50, and I would have probably paid that price. It looks 100% legitimate.
And it freaking works perfectly fine. Like the freaking game, the whole thing is, I guess these things freaking might have battery problems, which is nothing new with these older Game Boy games. Freaking, and I don't know if you can trade Pokemon people if they have the whole connector and they have the game, because I don't, but. I was just happy that I got, especially when I got this one. Freaking, I was happy that I got this one because this is my favorite Game Boy Pokemon game. I've made it to the Elite Four on this one, and there's still some stuff I probably still have been doing it, but you get the idea.
Yeah, like catching them all.
But like I said, this is my favorite Pokemon game on the Game Boy. And I like a lot of the ones that I've been playing on the Switch. When I freaking did a video of it showing that I got this one, this thing got over freaking 1,000 views, and I still can't believe that. It was a YouTube short. But shit, like freaking these things are freaking a dying breed because freaking people aren't gonna spend hundreds of dollars on this shit freaking off of, like I got some of the other games that I got freaking have a hard time finding. And a PlayStation freaking shutting their store down, then you can't freaking get this freaking thing anymore unless you go to these retro websites or you find them at like a pawn shop or some shit. Or at a flea market. And I'm holding up Resistance Fall of Man for the PlayStation 3 for the audio listeners, by the way.
Nah, thank you for including.
This is the freaking game I've been freaking begging freaking Sony, remaster this fucking shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, every week since we talked about how many games can come out. No, I'm not commenting what he said.
You're being honest. Yeah,
it sounds like I was like every week we could talk about that. But since we talked about like all of these games from gaming past that could be like brought, especially now that Sony is going to need some fresh blood again. Every week I'm like, oh yeah, there's another game series that we could bring back. Oh, there's another game series we can bring back. Yeah. Remember Total Warrior?
No, never heard of it.
But you know the Total War series?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Total Warrior, they only came up with one of them called Spartan Total Warrior, but it's like you're playing a unit in those battles, but obviously you're stronger than the average unit, so you can kill a lot of people. But it was very much like, oh wow, I'm actually in the middle of a strategy fight right now, as far as I could. And anyways, on like the GameCube, PS2. That game was a blast. Still something that I can pick up and enjoy to this day. I ain't seen no signs of that.
I might have misheard you. Did you say it's mostly Nintendo stopping all the retro, in the sense of retro
the
games?
The most recent update to the story involves Nintendo, but there have been cases across all console manufacturers at different points. So obviously Nintendo is a more special case just because they've consistently had handhelds and consoles and hybrids.
Yeah, the crossplay ones. So
there was this one time. Oops, sorry, Jordan.
Yeah, go ahead. There was
a bunch of people who were working on this Halo related thing that was like had stuff that they came up with and everything that people were able to play and everything. And Xbox shut that shit down. There was, I think it was called like Halo Online or something.
Yep. I know what you're talking about.
They turned around and brought some of that shit, including maps from that shit, into the Master Chief Collection.
Because they bought it out. They didn't want to lose money. That's 100% the reason why that happened. They saw what someone else was doing, had them take it down behind the scenes, bought everything for it, made it better, air quotes on better, made it better and put it into their game because they opened their eyes and seen, oh, we should do something about that.
I would know because I freaking played the freaking Actually, no, I shouldn't say that because I might get in trouble. But freaking, it's in the game right now. But there was a thing that before they actually put it in the game that I probably shouldn't say that. But you know what I mean.
I love how like you're showing restraint now, but earlier like it's not in the system, but I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna fucking beat the piss out of them.
Hey, would be on the period. There'll be a blah.
As you guys know about the whole Xbox Insider thing, I'm pretty sure even if it's been way after the fact, I'm not supposed to say anything about what goes on in those things. Well, I have freaking gameplay from the Halo Infinite flights freaking on my YouTube channel, and so do other people.
Yeah. So what I was getting a little bit closer to with the topic of like Nintendo especially for stopping all their retro gaming. Nintendo seems to be like the Apple version for gaming. Is they try to keep everything in their corners. They try to keep, if it's theirs, they want to keep it that way. Then they don't want you to stay in the past. And I know that sounds weird and bad for a game company or a massive company as Nintendo. Okay. So I know that sounds bad for like a company like Nintendo, but when you think about it, you can't go in Nintendo store and buy the old games. They're usually one of the first things that GameStop stops selling. Is one generation out, they go, okay, we cut this, and obviously GameStop has to follow the contracts with Nintendo, but Nintendo's known for pulling plugs on everything. If they don't want to do something, they yeet it out of there. They get invited to E3, they get ready to go, they pull out last second because they don't got anything. So when talking about that, hearing all this stuff, I'm like, it's not the first time for Nintendo. But why do you think Nintendo is trying to keep everyone moving forward and not back? And we see this example with Apple. Apple, you can't use an old iPhone because they stop updating it, and the CPU ends up not burning out, but kind of not letting further progress to continue in a phone. So why do we think Nintendo is keep trying to push people further, then going back for the classics? Because they're not bringing them back. So why do we think that?
Well, if they are going to bring the classics back, they're going to do that on their terms, with like the Switch Online, with the NES Online, the SNES Online, and then they get to the Nintendo 64 Online, and they have to pay extra money for that. So they do repurpose their games, but they're going to do it on their terms.
But
and that kind of is like is at least somewhat of an answer to your question, which is like, why are they pushing people forward? Well, it's because they want to use the investment that people have in these previous games to their advantage. So whenever they come out with this new feature to play Nintendo 64 games, they're banking on the investment in it. I hesitate to say nostalgia because I don't necessarily think it is nostalgia. I trust gamers' discretion that they are still looking after good quality gameplay experiences and aren't just necessarily looking for a dose of like of the past. I'm very lateral when it comes to that. I try not to let the past become less in my mind because it came before. To me, time is a very lateral thing. But anyways, Nintendo can use this as a bargaining chip to influence their subscription to the online service. So it's a very direct answer to your question. I might add.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely would make sense. But when we're going into piracy, retro piracy, that's where I'm like, why don't they try to jump this now? Why don't they, now knowing that this is going to end up being an issue where they're not making money from this? They will not. If people start selling their own digital copies of Pokemon and stuff, they're not making any money out of it.
Well, I think a lot of one of the biggest problems with Nintendo, and it will be for a long time, is that over in Japan, a lot of the executives and a lot of the people who run the company are rather out of touch.
I apologize.
No worries. And we remember it's been a while since Arth was on the program, but Arth made a point that really sticks out, which was about how Nintendo does have to protect their intellectual properties, and so if they even passively condone certain behavior, that could bite them in the ass when it comes to protecting their copyright down the line. So that is like a floating point in there. I just wanted to bring that up because I think that's at least somewhat relevant to this. Yeah. But a lot of it is just like the company structure. They're 3 steps forward, 2 steps to the right, 1 step back, jump in place 6 times, 1 step forward,
but
2 steps
that's
down.
Where the problem is.
Yeah.
It's like they're I'm not a millionaire. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not even a thousandaire. Actually, that's a lie. But you know, when it's all said and done, is like having a company structured like that, and having like that's where you really are just you put your ego in front of you, and you just don't accept that you did that. Instead, you just keep saying, no, I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna be like G4, man. I'm sticking with it. And if I just go down, I go down. Like, you know, that's what they're doing. And it's like, why just do what? And I know if they sit there and they go through with the things I'm saying about, especially like if piracy is becoming a thing for retro video games, and that they know Nintendo's the first one that's getting hit from this. They are the biggest retro games that haven't crossed back over in the newer day and age. Why don't they do something? Because their ego's so far up their ass, they just don't want to accept it, or they don't know how to do it.
Here's the part that worries me the most out of all of that.
Okay.
Even more so than frivolous lawsuits. So I consider myself blessed to be a Zelda fan, because the Zelda series really is one of the most consistently high quality game series to date. And it seems to have the respect of most of the gaming community by and large.
No, that's fair. Yeah.
Every Zelda game from NES to today, some of the spin-offs, you know, there's the CDI ones, there's some blind spots in there, but for the most part, all of the mainline Zelda titles are still worth your time to this day, because the art style has always been strong, the music composition will always be strong. They're always going to come up with clever puzzles that will test the brain regardless of what piece of technology you happen to be running it on. They always try to come up with inventive story beats, whether you're on an island and you're not sure if it's real or not, or the world is going to end in 3 days, or you're caught between two warring realms. And there's all sorts of interesting things that they do with their usual motifs of like light world, dark world, time travel, reincarnation. There's so much depth to it. Okay. My concern, not just for Zelda, but for games in general, is this foreknowledge that games will become inaccessible in time keeps them from wanting to develop them with enough lasting quality so that when somebody does discover them in 20 years, let's just say, that the game is just shit and it doesn't hold up. It's very much like calculated based off the technology at the time, and yeah, that they just don't try as hard to make these games last, because they know, well, you know what, as soon as we can replace it, we're just gonna move everybody on to the next one.
Okay, I mean,
and you can kind of see that, right? You can see that, right?
Yeah.
Like, and again, I bought a game, and I got 1/4 of the game for 1/4 of the price.
Yeah. No, I guess it makes sense. Unfortunately, we gotta start wrapping this podcast up. Charles, yeah, we have to get this all wrapped up. We're already up to 90 minutes. So Charles, have any last final words on the Nintendo, or not even Nintendo, but the whole piracy going on, retro piracy?
If they preserve their freaking retro libraries, then they should at least freaking quit being dicks about those people who are trying to freaking do this shit for them.
I agree. I kind of went on that little tangent for you, because
especially if it comes to Pokemon.
It comes to a lot of things. Honestly, it comes to a lot of things. Like we can keep this going for a solid another hour, but it's just we gotta wrap up, unfortunately. So let's go ahead and get ourselves sold out. Charles, where can people find you?
Well, guys want to hear me freaking rant about stuff, especially about the Halo series, whenever I actually have the time to freaking make a video on it like I wanted to last week, but I wasn't able to. Same with freaking Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, because I wanted to do a video freaking hyping up that shit, freaking I didn't get the chance to. I just want to see what any of my freaking video, my game, or any of my live streams for wrestling related crap. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's CJ the Lone Wolf.
Okay, CJ the Lone Wolf. Joseph, where can people find you?
You can head on over to giantenemycompany.com or head on over to YouTube, which is Giant Enemy Channel. And that's it. Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. I love it. Mine's not short and sweet. If you want to find me, Skull Hunter Games, anywhere you look. I wouldn't recommend Facebook, but if you're on Facebook, we'll still be posting our video content there. Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch. That's right, we're still on Twitch. And that's where you can find me. Pornhub soon to come. Once we hit 1 million subscribers, I'll make a Pornhub account. I seriously, I will. 100%. If that's what hits me to 1 million, Pornhub, baby. Dude, no. Side topic. I've seen gaming videos on Pornhub with like over 100,000 views. Nothing to do with porn. Absolutely nothing to do with porn. And I'm just like, I need to start uploading. I need to start uploading more. And then this podcast, you can find it anywhere you listen to your podcast from. That could be iTunes, Spotify, Anchor. You can listen to your podcast on Anchor as well. You can even find it on Facebook and YouTube. We've been getting a lot of listeners on our YouTube page, and we greatly appreciate that. All you guys' support is amazing. I can't believe anyone will take the time to listen to us ramble about this stuff, but you guys do. We greatly appreciate that. And thank you, Anchor. Thank you, Anchor, for being our all-in-one shop for our Anchor needs. When you need a podcast done, you need it done quick, and you need it done professionally, Anchor got you covered. They take care of all the work. You just do a little click, 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 a tap, 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 and boom, done. Babies are born. Your baby, aka the podcast. So you get your podcast out there. It starts making a life for you, and you just sit back and relax and watch everything happen around you. So Anchor is an all-in-one platform. Great to use. Go to anchor.fm or download the Anchor app today. Thank you guys for sponsoring the podcast. Guys, that's another successful podcast. Thank you, everybody. Charles, scream us out. Goodbye, everybody. Woo!
This freaking Paramount saying better not suck ass, or I'm gonna be really fucking pissed.
Oh, the Halo. It's happening.
I was gonna do that if we did it. I was gonna